Hello everyone. I hope all of you are doing fine. Today we have an important topic to discuss, that is stridor. I'm Dr. Gautam, Assistant Professor in ENT, KSIGDE Medical Academy. So by definition, stridor is defined as a noisy respiration due to obstruction in the passage of air through the respiratory tract. So one should understand that this is a symptom and not a disease per se. Okay. So stridor is classified into inspiratory, then we have expiratory and biphasic or mixed. So what do you mean by inspiratory stridor? Inspiratory stridor is when you have noisy breathing during the act of inspiration. So this we generally get in supraglottic diseases, where uh, during inspiration the supraglottic structures may collapse on itself and lead to obstruction of the airway. So that is inspiratory stridor. Next we have expiratory stridor. So expiratory stridor is you have stridor during the act of expiration or breathing out. So this is mainly seen in lesions of the trachea and bronchi. Okay, and mixed or biphasic type of stridor you get when the cartilages are involved in the region of the vocal, in and around the regions of the vocal cord, you get biphasic stridor. Okay, even the subglottic area you can get biphasic stridor. The etiology for stridor is mainly classified into the causes in the respiratory tract and causes outside the respiratory tract. Now the causes inside the respiratory tract is again divided into congenital and acquired causes. Now let's see what are the congenital causes which causes stridor. Okay, first one is the laryngeal web. Okay, then we have laryngeal stenosis, laryngomalacia, laryngeal cysts, hemangioma, mainly in the subglottic area, and bilateral choanal atresia. Okay, we'll see what these are. Okay, so this picture is showing web. Okay, there's a laryngeal web here. You can see the anterior part of both the vocal cords are joined together by connective tissues, or the membranous part of vocal cords are interconnected. So this is nothing but the laryngeal web. So this greatly reduces the space for breathing. So this can lead to stridor. Okay, this is a congenital cause for stridor. The child may present with stridor at birth. Next is laryngomalacia, where we have softening of the laryngeal cartilages. So what happens is, all of you know that we have omega shaped epiglottis, and the supraglottic cartilages are very flappy or floppy here. So during inspiration, the epiglottis may collapse on itself, or the supraglottic structures may fall into the lumen of the larynx, and it can lead to stridor. Yeah. So this is a picture of laryngomalacia, where you can see clearly the omega shaped epiglottis in the first picture. Now the second picture is during inspiration. You can see the arytenoids and the interarytenoid area, they are collapsing into the lumen of the larynx, thereby completely occluding the airway. The third picture, you can also see the epiglottis itself is collapsing on itself and causing obstruction of the airway. So that is laryngomalacia. We have cysts in the larynx, mainly the saccular cysts. Uh, this cyst can grow to such an extent that it can lead to obstruction of airway. So in the picture you can clearly see a cyst in the right side of the larynx, mainly in the pushing the false chords medially. Next, we have the subglottic stenosis, wherein we get incomplete recanalization. This is mainly seen in and around the cricoid ring. So again, we have two types here, membranous and cartilaginous. And sometimes you can also get mixed kind of stenosis. Now, the grades of this stenosis, grade 1 is less than 70% obstruction, grade 2 is 70 to 90%, grade 3 is 91 to 99, and grade 4 is 100% obstruction. The first picture may show around 70 to 90% obstruction, and second picture may be grade 3, 91 to 99% obstruction. Okay, and as I said, in subglottic area you can get biphasic stridor. The child will present with stridor and also failure to thrive. The hemangiomas in the larynx are mainly seen in the subglottic area. Here you can see a large hemangioma in the subglottis, nearly obstructing the airway. Again, the hemangiomas may be capillary type or even cavernous type. The child will usually present with biphasic stridor. Bilateral choanal atresia, the child may present with stridor because children are obligated nose breathers. So when you have bilateral obstruction of the nose, there will be stridor, especially during the acts of feeding. In the acquired etiology for stridor, we have the traumatic stridor that can be accidental trauma, which can cause injury to the larynx directly, or even the recurrent laryngeal nerve, which can lead to stridor. Iatrogenic stridor is mainly during thyroid surgeries, where you accidentally injure bilateral recurrent laryngeal nerves, which can put the vocal cords in paramedian or median position, leading to stridor. Burns of head and neck, caustic fumes can lead to stridor again. Prolonged intubation may lead to intubation granulomas, or sometimes even uh, subglottic stenosis, which can lead to stridor later on. Okay, so we generally don't keep the patient intubated for more than 7 to 10 days. If you think the patient needs intubation for more than these many days, then we generally do a tracheostomy. Okay, so one of the indication for tracheostomy is prolonged intubation. You should keep that in mind. Okay, inflammatory causes for stridor are laryngitis, acute epiglottitis, wherein you know it is caused by H. influenza B bacteria, where there is profound edema of the epiglottis and supraglottic structures, and this can lead to stridor in children. Laryngeal diphtheria, even though it's very rare nowadays, uh, sometimes the oropharyngeal diphtheria may spread inferiorly into the larynx, which will result in a pseudomembrane over the larynx and trachea, and this can also lead to stridor. Okay, edema is the main etiology. I mean, edema is the main cause for stridor in these cases. Okay, edema of the larynx. Yeah, this first picture is showing acute epiglottitis, where you can see red and bulged edematous epiglottis. Okay, even the supraglottic area epiglottic folds are congested and edematous. Similarly, AE folds and arytenoids are also inflamed. So together, all these things can lead to stridor. Okay, so this is an X-ray showing thumb side, where you can see in the lateral film you can see the thickened epiglottis. Next we have the neoplastic etiology. One is papilloma, other one is carcinoma. Okay, papilloma, again we have juvenile type and adult onset, and carcinoma, it's mainly squamous cell carcinoma. I have some slides on those. Miscellaneous etiology includes foreign body in the larynx and other parts of the airway, where it can cause partial or complete obstruction and lead to stridor. Vocal cord paralysis, idiopathic vocal cord paralysis can happen sometimes bilaterally, which can lead to stridor. Cretinism is congenital hypothyroidism, wherein you can get goiter along with cretinism. It can compress the trachea and lead to stridor. The first picture is uh, recurrent respiratory papillomatosis. So, recurrence in papilloma is mainly seen in juvenile type of papilloma, wherein, juvenile papillomas are usually multiple, where you can see clearly in the pictures, you have multiple papillomas in and around the vocal cords, supraglottis, anterior commissure. The posterior commissure area seems to be free of disease. So it's usually recurrent. Even after excision, it tends to recur. Okay, adult onset papillomas are usually solitary and it doesn't recur after excision. Okay, here you can see papillomas in second picture, mainly in the trachea. Okay, so all this can lead to stridor. So airway foreign bodies, obviously it can obstruct the airway and it can lead to stridor. Vocal cord paralysis, you can see bilateral vocal cords are in median position here with this very small and narrow glottis in the posterior aspect. Again, this will greatly reduce the airway and lead to stridor. Now the etiology outside the respiratory tract, again it may be divided into congenital and acquired. Acquired is traumatic. Now the congenital cause for stridor outside the respiratory tract is Perry-Robin syndrome, or it's usually called Perry-Robin sequence, where you get micrognathia or small jaw, which can lead to glossoptosis, or the tongue protrudes outside the mouth, and or sometimes tongue may be pushed backward and it can lead to stridor. Vascular loops around the trachea can lead to stridor. Trauma to the neck and chest can sometimes compromise the airway and it can lead to stridor. Okay, so this is a picture of Perry-Robin child where you can see the micrognathia or the small mandible. Okay, this will push the tongue backwards and it can lead to stridor. Inflammatory causes for stridor outside the larynx are Ludwig's angina and retropharyngeal abscess, neoplastic lesions of the thymus or metastatic lymph nodes in the mediastinum, cystic hygroma, they all can compress the airway and lead to stridor. Oh, this is a picture showing um, Ludwig's angina. You can see the tense swelling in the uh, below the mandible. The second picture shows again swelling below the floor of the, below the tongue in the floor of the mouth area. This will push the tongue up and backwards, leading to stridor. Okay, it's a medical emergency. It needs to be drained. This is first picture is a normal lateral film of the neck. Second film you can see greatly enlarged or increased soft tissue in the prevertebral area with some air pockets. This is suggestive. Again, you can see a small foreign body also. So all these things are suggestive of retropharyngeal abscess. This can again compress the larynx and can cause stridor. So management of stridor is based on the etiology. Okay, the one thing what you should remember is it's an airway emergency. Stridor is an airway emergency. It has to be managed at the earliest, or you may lose the patient. Okay, you should note the time of onset, the mode of onset, the duration of stridor, whether if it's a child, whether it has got any relation to feeding. Like I said, in choanal atresia you can get increased stridor during feeds. Cyanotic spells, again during feeding you can get. Aspiration, okay, aspiration history you should rule out in case of stridor. Again, trauma to the head and neck area. Physical examination, you should check for respiratory distress, whether there are any accessory muscles being used by the patient. The type of stridor has to be noted, whether it is inspiratory, expiratory or biphasic. Again, characteristic of the stridor, whether it is snoring type or a gurgling, hoarse cry or expiratory wheeze. Okay, all these things should be noted. Whether the patient is having fever, if it is fever, you should think of inflammatory cause. Um, Positional changes, like in case of acute epiglottitis, the child is better when he's seated up, bending forwards. That's a tripod sign. Okay, so all these things needs to be noted. One thing is any type of breathing difficulty, usually it's better when the patient sits up. Okay, on lying down position, any difficulty in breathing becomes even worse. Okay, so that's one thing you should keep in mind. The nose should be examined. Again, oral cavity, pharynx and larynx, everything needs to be examined uh, to arrive at a diagnosis. Investigations, um, chest x-ray, x-ray soft tissue of the neck, anterior posterior view as well as lateral view is must. If you're thinking in case of retropharyngeal abscess or any other head and neck abscesses or even malignancy, a CT scan would be best. Esophagogram or upper GI scopy may be required to rule out malignancy or any diseases of the esophagus which can lead to stridor. Angiography, when you're thinking of vascular loops, it will help in arriving at a diagnosis. Direct laryngoscopy will give us a very good illumination and a better picture of the larynx from a close-up view. Bronchoscopy may be required when you don't find any cause for stridor in the larynx or in the pharynx. Then you may need to do a bronchoscopy. Even esophagoscopy, I said, flexible upper GI scopy may be required. So this is a picture of direct laryngoscopy. Indirect laryngoscopy, all of you know, we do it in the OPD using a direct laryngoscopic mirror. Whereas in direct laryngoscopy, we use a rigid laryngoscope to see the laryngeal structures. Flexible laryngoscopy, this is a very good tool when the patient is a child. You can introduce this without even anesthetizing or giving general anesthesia. You can just simply instill a few drops of local anesthetic into the nose, and of course you can spray the oropharynx with some amount of local anesthetic, and you can directly introduce the scope and examine for the supraglottic even glottic and even subglottic areas. Okay, you can do even a flexible bronchoscopy also, but bronchoscopy can be tried in a child. It is difficult to do under local, uh, but it can be tried. Yeah, rigid bronchoscopy is another method of examining the bronchus, where we pass a rigid metallic bronchoscope into the bronchus through the larynx and trachea and see if there is any uh, if you're suspecting or if you have found any foreign body in the x-ray, you can try to retrieve it as well. Like I said, treatment of stridor depends upon the cause for stridor. Okay, stridor is just a symptom. The causes are numerous, so treatment is based on the cause for the stridor. Okay, in case of emergency, tracheostomy may be required. Okay, in case tracheostomy is difficult or you don't have skilled person who knows to do tracheostomy, even an emergency cricothyrotomy can be tried. This is one skill which can save a lot of patients. uh, with minimal training, you can confidently do this procedure. So cricothyrotomy is a life-saving procedure if you don't know tracheostomy. Yeah, endotracheal intubation. Yeah, this requires some amount of skills again. Anesthetists, they do it regularly. They are very well versed it with intubation. Yeah, and if you have time, you can do an endotracheal intubation. But again, you should remember that foreign body may be dislodged deeper into the trachea from the larynx while doing intubation. So you should know the etiology before intubating the patient. If it is like inflammatory etiology like epiglottitis or a croup or something, this will definitely help. And yeah, and finally you have to treat the underlying cause. For an inflammatory cause, antibiotic and fluids and even bronchodilators, this may be required based on the nature of disease. So this is a picture showing cricothyrotomy. So what we have to do is you have to palpate the cricoid cartilage and you have to palpate the thyroid cartilage. Uh, Keeping two fingers on these two cartilages, you just have to make a stab incision uh, between these two cartilage. This will puncture the cricothyroid membrane and directly open into the larynx. Okay, so into the subglottis. Basically, it opens into the subglottis. So this is an emergency procedure. It can be done if you know the anatomy of the cartilages. Okay, tracheostomy is a little difficult to do without experience. This is an easy procedure if trained adequately. So that is about stridor. It's a simple topic. The etiologies and the management part, if you know, I think that should do. Thank you, and be safe. Stay indoors. I hope we all fight this pandemic together and we emerge victorious. Yes, thank you.